What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of First Blood. I know it's been a long time since we've done one of these. Alan and I were just talking before we started. It's like, hey, we're getting back in the swing of things, but I'm back. I'm not working the CDL today, and I'm excited to kind of have a good conversation with Alan. We haven't really gotten to talk too much about the event so far, so we'll be able to have a good conversation, kind of a recap from day 1 and 2, and then obviously talk about the single elimination bracket that is starting today with our 8 remaining teams. But first off, before we get started, Alan, how you doing, bro? It's been a minute.
Ooh, it's been a good minute, man. You're looking good up there, though. I'll tell you what, though. I thought you did a really good job, honestly. So I was happy to see you up there doing your thing. I've been good, man. I've just been kind of getting ready for all the VCT stuff going on this weekend. Plus, we kind of got late approvals to run our clutch stream with commentary over Charlie and Delta. So we had a little scramble action here at the end of the week, and yeah, man, it's been an interesting weekend so far. I would say, just with how close a lot of the Challengers matches were, even though none of the Challengers teams made it through. Big Sag, dude. I felt so bad for Toronto Ultra, and I know we'll talk about it more later, but I still feel heartbroken for those boys.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you. I mean, being there in person, watching, I was hoping the whole time. I mean, you and I even talked about the Prime, like, it was several weeks ago when we did a show talking about kind of predictions for it and whatnot. And, like, I was hoping the whole time that we would get one amateur team through the bracket, because that's what the whole tournament purpose was. And let me tell you what, watching that last match yesterday, I was there in person and seeing Toronto Ultra Academy just fall one map short of qualifying for the bracket after everything they did. It sucks, but I've seen it so many times when it's like you take it map 5 multiple times, and you know how the tiebreakers go down. It's like it goes between the map count between the teams tied, and they went map 5 way too many games, unfortunately. So it sucks that they were one map away from making the bracket. Scrappy and them, they were going crazy.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing that I think you should everyone would have expected, right? Especially after like the Minnesota Open with, like, Scrappy kind of getting a slap on the wrist, so to speak, about how boisterous he was being on LAN. It was just like, oh well, shit, now that he's playing up against pro players, this kid is gonna go nuts. And obviously he did, but I don't know, it was a good first 2 days. I know there's been a lot of reactions about how, like, people would have wanted to see the groups be GSL format instead of just everyone plays each other, once. I kind of see pros and cons in that. Obviously, like, the pros of doing it like a regular group stage where everyone plays each other once is that you're guaranteed to play 3 matches if you're a Challengers team, compared to only having to play 2 maybe, or maybe 3 if you are able to get a first win somewhere. But I don't know. I think that this was a super solid start to reincorporating Challengers teams to pro teams, and I'm glad that we got it in, like, an actual LAN venue that was like a local venue that was like, the passion is there. It kind of fit with the identity a little bit. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I was pumped.
Definitely. And like I said, you and I haven't gotten too much talking time, I guess, about the event, so just go ahead and kind of get right into it. I want to talk about kind of your biggest, I guess, takeaways or surprises. I know we spoke briefly before about the amateur teams, kind of who we thought had a chance actually to potentially come out, and we both already said kind of Toronto Ultra Academy. I think everyone was kind of eyes on them, seeing what they could really do. And I think on the bright side, even though they didn't make it through, I think they turned a lot of heads. They definitely got some fans behind them now. I think people definitely put respect on Scrappy, even Mohawk, and the whole team, realistically. Hixie, they're all going off the entire weekend. And it was really cool to see. Let me tell you, I was standing behind, I know you probably saw it on Twitter, I was standing behind Mohawk. When it was like it was round 5-3, and they were in a 4v2, and they got literally 2v4'd in like 12 seconds. I'm not even joking. Like, everyone in the venue was like, oh, like, this is it. Like, they're about to choke. And then it's 5-4, and literally, I'm not joking, you could have heard a pin drop in that venue. Everyone is standing there watching them. Mohawk's in a 1v3. I'm like, oh my God, they are going to choke. It's going 5-5. Like, this is over. And Mohawk's at 1v3, like 30 seconds left, I think. Gets the first kill. Everyone, Zenny chows him. He dies in a 1v1, and the whole venue just goes, oh! And it's like dead silence for a second. He plants the bomb, and I was like, that had to have been probably one of the hypest moments of his entire career. So, like, I don't know. Let me tell you, it was cool, though, to, like, see them get all gassed up, even though, like I said, they fell short. But I think they all have a bright future. So, for me, that was kind of my biggest takeaway, I think, other than, like, some of these new teams making roster changes and role swaps. But I wanted to get your thoughts kind of on the pro teams that made changes that struggled. For me, we haven't talked about it, like I said, at all, but like Minnesota Rocker, they made the change with Havoc. They come into a pool that, in my opinion, should have been winnable with Optic now playing with General early on. And it's like, I don't know. Those guys fall short. Then you look at on the other side, you have like New York who plays with Kismet. Now they're 3-0. They're looking really, really good. And I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about some of the matches today, but I just want to know, like, kind of like I said, your biggest, I guess, surprise team or shocking team that you've thought throughout the weekend.
And what do you think? Do you want to just like kind of go like reactions over each group really fast?
Yeah.
Like, because we can kind of hit all of those,
Let's do
right?
it.
I think let's do it like that. So
Okay.
we got like, because I think you're right, by the way, just for what it's worth, like Kismet, I think was an instant improvement. Although to be fair, there are some conversations about like, even with Neptune, New York was starting to play better. But regardless, Group A, I think pretty much went mostly as expected. But I will say that I did not expect Seattle to get absolutely pooped on all weekend long. Didn't win a single respawn at all throughout the entirety of the weekend, even though a handful were close. And that is super concerning, I think, for Seattle. Like, to lose to Strike X, I didn't think they were even going to come close to winning more than 3 maps. So, I mean, they only won 4, but the fact that they lost to a Strike X team that didn't even make it top 12 in the Clutch Cup that we ran a couple of weeks ago, didn't even make it to the qualification matches in the Elite Season 3 qualifiers, to lose to that team if you're Seattle on land and not win a single respawn throughout the entirety of the weekend, I think we have a new panic button being hit, because we've talked about this team in the past about their long losing streak that they put together and haven't really dug themselves out of it. The only time that they did was a 3-0 versus Optic that surprised everybody out of their shoes. And it's just like, well, what now? Like, I think this Seattle team is now all of a sudden kind of in the hot seat when it comes to, you didn't win a single respawn, including playing twice up against Strike X. Like, that is not good news for Seattle.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was sitting there talking to a bunch of players and even some of the coaches about it. And it's like, you get to a point where you're Seattle, right? And we've said this before. It's like, these guys can beat the best, but they also can just lose to any team in the pro league. And it's like, as a management standpoint or as an organization, I just don't know what you do, right? Like, these guys come out. Obviously, we've talked with Sam Phoenix before. I was talking to him on Thursday before the event even started. He's like, trust me, we're about to go 4-0, blah, 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 blah. Team's looking great. And I understand coaches have confidence and whatnot, but like, these scrims have to be going well for them to, like, I guess, have that sort of confidence. And then, like you said, they come in, they go 0-3, 2-9 map count. It wasn't pretty at all. They even lose to Strike X, which, no offense to them, they were kind of getting, Strike X was kind of getting memed throughout the entirety of the weekend. They were getting beat so bad, and then they go out and beat Seattle, and it's like, now they have a respectable kind of ending towards the pool. So yeah, I don't know. I guess the only other positive from the pool was, like, I think if you're a Toronto fan, you're happy to see them playing better. But yeah, on the Seattle side, I'm so curious. I don't think they'll make a change, so they're gonna go into this group stage, hopefully trying to turn it around. Obviously, this pro-am wasn't for any pro points or anything like that. It was just strictly cash prize. So they head back to the drawing board, and they finished dead last in their group.
Yeah, that's tough scenes, man. And the thing about it is, like, even without points being attributed to it, like, that's still that's a tournament that you cannot come out and finish last in your group in, though. Like, that's where I kind of hold my head on. Atlanta did Atlanta things. No one was surprised there. Toronto, I'm actually really interested to see how they do in the single elimination bracket, because a lot of our problems that we had with them are obviously with how bad they were doing in hardpoint, and then they come over and, you know, they do, obviously they beat Strike X and they make Seattle Surge turn over a little bit for them. But I think the matchup that they have today is going to be an interesting one, because I'm pretty high in this Florida team at the moment. But it is good to see Toronto finding some success. That much is for sure. It'll be curious to see if they can keep it up, though, when we actually get into season 3. I think that's the biggest curiosity for a lot of people.
Definitely. I'm good on Group A. If you want to swap over to Group B, we can talk about. It was Florida, Optic, Texas, Minnesota Rocker, then the Toronto Ultra Academy EU. I guess for me, honestly, I wasn't too surprised. This is the way I had it going. If Optic was competing with their full roster, I probably had Optic and Florida flip-flop there, with Optic taking first seed. But I thought Florida is the better team between this new Minnesota Rocker squad, even though they had a new, roster swap and everything like that. I just think that Florida's starting to kind of be on the up and up. They're starting to look a little bit better and create some more consistency in their gameplay. And I really wasn't shocked that the EU team in Toronto Ultra Academy didn't really do too much.
Yeah, it's a feels bad moment, right? Like you get your fourth, arguably your best player, I think in a lot of regards, stolen from you,
Yep.
but picked up into London, so you kind of have to fill a last minute replacement. And apparently, I don't know if this is actually the word of truth here, but I had heard that Toronto Ultra Academy EU could not use a player that had qualified for Elite Season 3. So they had to use someone who didn't qualify for Elite Season 3. And I would say Rafi has been playing fine this year, but I think there were better options that were out there, just personally speaking. It's a tough situation. You come in having to fill in a fourth last second, essentially with minimal practice. And I'm sure Rafi's probably scrambling just to get himself, mentally ready to go play up against pros after not even qualifying for Season 3. So that's tough scenes overall. You really can't take too much, I think, stock into their lack of performance. I think Vortex played really well. A couple of different times that I had a chance to watch back some of their maps, I thought he played really, really well. So that's good news, I think, for his overall stock. And that's the whole thing, I think, for a team like that is hopefully you had a chance to really participate and kind of show what your potential is, and maybe it holds you in higher regard when it comes to potential moves or expansions in the future. So tough scenes there, and I agree with you. I had Optic finishing first, Florida finishing second prediction-wise. I did have Minnesota finishing last, though. I had Toronto Ultra Academy beating them. So the fact that Minnesota was at least able to 3-0 there is decent news, but I still think you're right when it comes down to this team change has not led to enough significant progress. I think there is some malleable stuff there to work with, but I think this third season for them is going to be a difficult one as we get into the next stage.
I think, in my opinion, it's going to be a true eye-opener to show that the Minnesota Rockers struggles are past just one player. I mean, you and I kind of talked about this. If they're going to make a change, they need to make a two-player swap. I know it's super early, and you guys can call me delusional or crazy or whatever, but I watched most of their games throughout the entirety of the weekend, and I feel like they're just swapping around like too many things, trying to put a Band-Aid over something. You take out Major, whether he was terrible stat-wise throughout the league or whatever it was, whatever the reason was, you got rid of him. You put in Havoc, it's not like he's just going to, I'm not saying Colt's a bad player at all. He's frying and challengers, doing his thing. We've had him on the show, but I just don't think he's going to transform this team to some next level caliber top 4 squad all of a sudden.
I agree.
You also have players swapping to main AR roles that haven't even ran it all year. So I don't even know who their main is because I cannot really tell based on their maps, but Attach and Priest are the ARs, obviously. And then you have Standy and Havoc. I don't know. I need to see more from these guys. I feel like the Optic win yesterday was kind of like an eye-opener to everyone. Yeah, they played them tight and competitive, but they're playing with General. It's like on the side of Optic, you're so happy with that. And Dashy was getting, obviously, like I said, I watched that match yesterday too in person. He was getting loud the entire time. Like he was letting them know. I don't know if you saw his tweet. He tweeted out 4 Major, like hashtag never chalked. Like he literally beat them. He wanted to beat them so bad. They love Major Maniac. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how Minnesota will do throughout stage 3, all of their qualifying matches. I think this is really gonna be a make or break though, because like if you make a roster change and this stage doesn't go well, you start into losers and like it just gets to a downward spiral, and you kind of solidify yourself in the bottom 4 for the year. So I don't know. Interested to see what these guys can do. But
what'd you think of General's performances when he had a chance to play? Do you think he played all right?
I talked to General. It's too early to tell for me. I talked to him yesterday in an interview, and he was telling me the first match he got thrown in, which this is completely true because I was there. Illy played their first match versus Team War, Toronto Ultra Academy. Then literally Illy was like, I'm not playing. General was standing outside with everyone talking, and then he gets told he has to play. And it was freezing in Columbus, Ohio. He got no warm-up, and they hopped right back into their first game. He literally got 0 warm-up, maybe 5 minutes of a free-for-all.
Oh, that's tough.
So the first game he plays, no warm-up yesterday. He plays a little bit better. He plays solid, I think, then gets his first win under his belt. So I don't know. It's too early to tell for me. I think the sample size will be today. Like, let's see how he performs versus FaZe. I know that's a hard matchup to show up against, but I mean, I don't know. He's got some big shoes to fill, and I know the role is kind of a little weird for him. He was saying he was trying to like play like Illy, and he's like, I just don't play like that. And Rambo was like, just play your role, dude. Just do your thing. We'll just like compensate for you. So I don't know. He did his thing. I was happy that, like I said, that they got a win yesterday and made it onto the group play.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm going to be the biggest Jordan General stan for the next however long they last, whether it's just today or if it's today, tomorrow. I really want him to do well, man. I feel like everyone forgets like how instrumental he was in that Enigma 6 team in BO4, 4th place finish. Never got a chance to even compete at all during Modern Warfare, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cold War, I thought he was good. I think this year he's been really good. So I just hope he gets a chance, man. I think that kid deserves it.
I completely agree with you. Let's move on to Group C real quick, unless you got any final thoughts on B.
What the hell happened in Group C, bro?
Again, I don't know. I was watching the first match of the weekend. It was New York versus LA Thieves, and like again, this is right when the venues start, like the matches were all starting and everything, and you see New York go up 1-0 versus the Thieves. I feel like this set the pace for their entire weekend, like in my opinion. Like I
think so,
I feel like they literally haven't let off the gas since this moment, and that's why I want to talk about it. Is they beat Thieves map 1 convincingly. I did an interview with him, and he was talking about how he really didn't do anything that series. I think him and Kenny both map 1 were going 15 and 30 each. And anyways, long story short, LA Thieves lose map 1 by like 120 points. And then map 2, this is where the whole weekend for them, the full sale, 0-5 comeback. And ever since then, New York just looked great. And I don't understand it. Like on the Thieves side of things, at least they bounce back. They make it all the way to, to the bracket now. But like, that was shocking yesterday or 2 days ago. Like I was just mind blown. And then, like I said, they've really handled business. They're 9-1 map count. They've only lost 1 map to Team War. Oh, it's the Team War. Yeah, they 3-0'd LA Thieves. They lost.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Team War all weekend long, they were getting loud. Let me tell you, it didn't matter who they were playing. It was a spicy match. I wish I would have recorded some of this. New York was playing Team War, and Team War was chirping these guys the whole time. And then Paul stood up and like the boost, like you could tell, I'm sure when you were watching the matches, like you like are facing each other, but there's like a massive wall, like barrier in between you two. So if you want to actually like talk trash, like you have to walk to the other side of the barrier. Well, Paul let them know because they want to search and destroy our game 3 or something. Paul walked over to their side of the stage and was like, "Don't talk shit if you're not going to lose, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, oh my, I love it. It was funny though. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was cool to see. But I guess the only surprise for me, I didn't have War making it out in this pool at all. I was surprised by London a little bit, but then like we just said, like they make a last second role swap. Not role swap, team change. I talked to Trey a little bit about it, and it was just like, you got to do what they got to do, basically.
I mean, the thing about it is Harry's a great player.
Yeah.
There was a time when the roster for London was, everyone kind of knew it without being announced. I remember very specifically talking on the BO3 pod. I was like, honestly, Harry's going to get subbed in for 0 at some point in the season. This London Royal Ravens team is going to finish top 4 by the end of the year. But obviously the situation with Gizmo is unideal. He's such a character and such a good guy. We hope that he's able to kind of come back and do well. And Zero's been great all year long. I couldn't be more happy to eat my shoe than seeing how well Zero's been playing. But Harry's a great player and definitely deserves a chance to get into the CDL and show what he's worth. And I thought that for the most part, even though London didn't make it into the bracket, I thought they were competitive all throughout all of their matches. Mm-hmm. Out of all the, I think, like, again, I was doing Valorant stuff. I didn't have a chance to watch every single match this week, the first 2 days. But I did have a chance to go back and watch a lot of the London Royal Ravens games, and I thought he played very, very well. And I think that for Team Ward, that's like the most heartbreaking way outside of Toronto Ultra Academy NA to possibly have things go. Like, so many of your maps were 250 to 240 hard points, 6-4 or 6-5 searches, and then 3-2 controls. Like, they were competitive every single step of the way. Which is good news overall. I know that when people look back on this event, you're going to look at the 2-9 map count and the 0-3 series count, but so many of those maps were within the slimmest of margins. Like the London series, Trey got blessed with the spawn outside of P1 when they were going from 4 to 5. I think that wins them the map. We had a obviously round 11 search in that series, a defense fest Tuscan control. Like all 3 of those maps, it could have been a 3-0 the other way around. So I think that was, tough scenes for War overall. But I will say, I think the most impressive part about this group is 100% New York. I had them predicted to finish in 4th, and they have looked unreal so far. And that's great news, I think, if you're a New York fan.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. And we'll talk about Thieves more in their round 1 matchup later today. But I'm super curious to see what Thieves team we'll get, because I don't know. I got a lot to say when we talk about the matchups later on, but definitely I agree with you. New York continued to dominate ever since they're really their first series win. And then, like you said, I think Team War did great, and it'll be interesting to see how London will do if Harry will stay in for their Major 3 qualifiers. So I'm excited to definitely see them kind of continue to improve. And I think on the bright side, you look at it as, again, it was just like practice, land reps, kind of getting some more chemistry with him if they have to continue to play with him for a little bit. So moving on to Group D, I thought, in my opinion, this was the most interesting group and by far the most fun to watch. Boston Breach, Paris Legion, Toronto Ultra Academy, and LAG. I don't know about you, but I was a little shocked. I had Toronto Ultra Academy coming out of this before everything was said and done. I thought they were going to be the only AM team to come out. And I honestly thought LAG would perform way better than they did. But I don't know. You and I haven't talked too much about LAG, but I'm not super surprised. I thought that the event that they won, I mean, we talked about this again. This was several weeks ago, but I told you that I thought the Volk was the best gun that has ever been it was like close to the OSA and IW. And I thought that like LAG played great in Search and Destroy. Don't get me wrong. 11 win streak with or without the gun. They're a great Search and Destroy team. But I did think that a part of the respawn success throughout the event was from the Volk. And it was like a kind of a mental battle with some of these teams. Get rid of the gun. And I don't know. They didn't look the best. I'll be honest. I was watching them a good amount. And for them to kind of go, it's just crazy to me. They just won the event and then they go 0-3. Like, that's nuts. I don't know if that's a game thing, gun thing, or just a overall team thing. I don't know.
I think it's one of those things, man. And I know we've talked about this a lot when we had kind of been, evaluating LAG before the Minnesota Major, where it was like, it just feels like this team is just going to be good if Asim and Hook are playing the way they want to play, and they're getting away with it. And like I mentioned, I didn't get a lot of time to watch too much of their other series outside of the one that they played versus Toronto Ultra NA. And it was just like, man, at times it just feels like the SMGs could not get anything going. It just feels like there was this weird synergistic thing that just kind of pops its head in, like this little monkey wrench in the system out of nowhere, which is so puzzling because they weren't just so good at search. They were also really good throughout their hard point, I want to say, maybe outside of a couple of maps throughout that Major 2 Minnesota run. So for all of that to kind of start going sour is a bit peculiar. I think obviously the biggest problems are most evident, at least by watching them play Toronto Ultra NA on Berlin control. I was like, oh God, like LAG, like just don't know. It looked like they don't know what they want to do. So I don't really know what the cause of that is, but I think you're right. I'm not super surprised by it. My predictions for this group was that it was going to be Boston, Ultra NA, and then LAG and Paris battling for third, fourth. Which technically speaking, we almost got, I guess, in a way, with how close that Paris and LAG game was, but. I don't know, man. It's a bizarre one, and I think we're gonna start seeing LAG back into true colors again. It kind of feels like when Florida would win an event in Modern Warfare and then come out like the next stage and just completely miss all the things that they're doing so well on. It kind of felt like the same thing was kind of occurring for LAG this weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm even just looking at the I know it wasn't pretty. I haven't even looked at the stats until just now, but ASIM in their game yesterday versus Boston to potentially qualify, because there could have been a 3-way tie if all of that would have happened. He had a .52. He went 41-79, -38 in the series, and everyone else on his team went positive. Spart with a 1.06, 1.07, 1.12. And I tell you all the time, I'm not someone to just like harp on stats and blame someone solely, but I mean, those aren't the best numbers individually. I mean, that's not very good as one of your superstar SMG players. So definitely a rough series from him, and they could have potentially made something happen if they were to go on and win that series last night. But they fall short. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with this team over, again, the qualifiers and going into the next Major. Hopefully they can turn it around. I know I saw Slash's tweet. He said something about bad practice leads to bad results. So I don't know what's been going on behind the scenes that we haven't been able to see. But on the bright side, Paris Legion, they make the bracket, baby. I got to talk about them, man. I got to.
M19 was that?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with them. A lot of them are my really good friends. Temp and John I've known for a long, long time. So I got the chance to talk to them on Thursday night. We went out to dinner and stuff, and I was like, dude, you guys are gonna qualify tomorrow. Like, let's do this thing. And they were super happy that obviously they made it through. I got to catch their last win last night versus Toronto. I think it's just good to see. It's a good momentum thing. I talked to you a lot about it. Like, I can't imagine being in a spot like these guys just losing all the time. It's so hard on your mental. It's not a fun experience. So for them to finally make a bracket, whether it's a pro-am, I don't care what it is, it's gonna bring up the vibe of the squad. And then you saw good performances out of Jimbo and Tom
Yeah.
Gravity. So I'm a big fan of that, honestly. Donnie was telling me that, like, ever since that first series when everyone was being hard on him, myself included, he's like kind of turned it around for them. I don't know if he's a LAN or he really does have ping issues at home or whatnot, but the series he
that's where
has
I was
played
gonna
on LAN, like, he's doing his thing. Like, he actually
Yeah.
looks really good. He looks comfortable now. And then even like Tom Gravity, I feel like a lot of people are giving him a hard time, including myself. And yesterday he steps up huge. I know it was the amateur team, but the AM team took down 2 of the pro teams in this pool. So I was happy to see it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I mean, after you reverse sweep twice, I think if you're trying to Ultra NA, you look at Paris and say, we got this, no problem. But, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we kind of had learned more about the Paris situation with everyone playing from, you know, wherever they happen to be located. They get on LAN and they start playing a lot better. And it just makes you wonder if Paris were to actually organizationally support them with the facility, get them into one location, would this team actually be a lot more competitive? And I think, you know, obviously it's a small sample size, and I think there were things going on with both LAG and then obviously for Toronto Ultra NA, like not being able to close out a couple of maps that I think they probably should have won. It's kind of tough scenes. We'll get a better look today for the most part, but I don't know, man. I think it's just if you put him in a facility, this team I think could at least be fighting for top 8 every single week, if not maybe even more than that, especially with how much talent we just saw out of the new players they added in. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. Then on the side of Boston too, these guys come back and handle business. I have no idea how, to be honest. I thought these guys broke down after they got reverse swept 1v3 by Mohawk, but they somehow find themselves in first seed. I was sitting there watching again the game with them last night, and basically they were praying that Paris were to win 3-1 or 3-0 because they were guaranteed first seed, and they go on to do so. But I feel like these guys, like, I don't know, you got to keep an eye out for them. They're all my good friends, and they've been, you know, doing their thing throughout the year. But I swear, like, starting to get slimmer and slimmer with these guys, like actually having a good margin over like some of the middle of the pack teams. Like, I feel like people are starting to catch up. They're starting to play them way more competitively, and they really haven't had like a dominant win other than the LAG win last night. But like with the way LAG was playing, is it really that impressive? Like, I don't know. LAG was down bad, I feel like, this weekend. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what they do today in the bracket, but I'm ready to kind of swap things over. I know Ryan said he has the bracket, so we can kind of take a look at that before we go match by match, and just look at the way it's going to pan out. I think the top side of it is a little stacked. Yeah, I was gonna say it's crazy. I don't know. It's gonna be nuts, man. You got FaZe, Optic, Breach, and Thieves, and I think if Optic has the original roster up there, you're sitting there like, wow, like these guys are. You've got a FaZe, Optic round 1. But then on the bottom side, like, you're gonna probably see a new face in the grand finals. Well, actually, you definitely will, because I don't think we haven't seen any of those teams in the final. So we're going to see a brand new grand finals for the first time this year, which will be pretty exciting. But I don't know. I'm ready to break down some of the matches and give some of our thoughts. If you are, I'm ready to get into
down
it.
for it, man. Yeah, that top side of the bracket is looking real dicey. That's going to be a tough one to predict. And actually, honestly speaking, so will the bottom side, because like, how much do we trust the 3-0 performance from New York and Florida versus, you know, what Paris is doing?
These are the coin flip series we talk about all the time.
This is a series that prediction points wise, I start to really turn up for no good reason besides just luck of the draw, honestly.
Let's get into it though. First match of the day today is going to be New York Subliners versus Paris Legion. I'll let you kind of take it away. Give me your thoughts more in detail. We've talked briefly about New York and Paris, but I don't know. It's going to be nuts.
I think it's going to be a really interesting series due to the fact that, like, New York has iced in all of their search and destroys so far, which is great news, but it's still like there was no convincing search overall, like map overall. Whereas, you know, you did have a good look out of Paris when they played LAG at least. Man, I don't know. This is such a weird thing because it looks like Paris is not wanting to play any Berlin control. And I guess New York is kind of okay with that. I honestly don't have a prediction. This is too difficult. I think for me, I believe in the culture shift now for New York. I think obviously the situation with Clay is like super unfortunate to begin with, but I still think that at the beginning of the year, and it kind of obviously seemed like that after Neptune's tweet longer about how he felt like he was always going to be the scapegoat and there was never a situation where he was going to win in that team. So I think this culture wise, now that they have a team that they're at peace with, I think this New York team is just more mentally committed to, okay, like this is the team that we want. So we're actually going to be able to give us a full look. So as much as Paris, I think we're somewhat impressive through their group. I still think naturally I'm giving a little bit of favor to New York, who is, I think, functioning the way that they're intended to from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I like it. I think, I don't know. I agree with you. I've talked to a lot to the New York guys, and Crim's been pretty vocal on social media as far as like with Neptune and the whole situation with that. And it seems like you said, they seem more comfortable. I was talking to the guys. They seem to be, they literally told me like the game feels easier. It feels like we know what we're doing now, and a lot of other things. So it's just, I don't know. It's cool to see. I like seeing kind of the I guess climb from teams that are struggling when they make a roster swap and it starts to work, and then they can kind of turn things back around and get the wheel turning. So good to see on the side of New York, but I don't know. I feel like you can't fully count out Paris Legion. I feel like there's going to be a very scrappy matchup, and it could get very dicey quick. I don't know how the vetoes are going to unfold. I know Paris loves Bokic, and I was talking to some of the guys, and they swear they're the best Bokic team in the entire game.
That's
so
crazy.
I'm curious to see like if New York just gets rid of that right away, and then they'll square up on another map. But I don't know, Donnie.
I mean,
like
New York looked good on Bakaj this weekend, though.
I know. So like maybe they square up on it, but then Paris. Donnie was telling me he loves playing Tuscan hardpoint now because he brings out the Tommy gun. You were talking about the M19,
Yeah,
so like
M9, yeah,
he loves
crazy.
it. So like I don't know. Apparently that's a meta thing now. People started using it on the land. It has a 50-round drum on it, and he's like for P5 and P4. I think he was saying it's just like spray and pray. You just pre-aim down the sights, and he's like, you don't die with it. I'm like, all right. So we'll see another new meta gun, I guess. But I don't know.
That's crazy. I am glad for what it's worth, by the way, just that we're still seeing somebody else try something new, and it looked like it was working out pretty darn well. So that was fun. But
yeah, no, definitely. I'm always a big fan of the metas, but whew, this is gonna be weird. I'm with you, kind of. I really don't know what way I want to go. The only positive I have, I feel like Hydra's the best sub in the lobby by a little bit.
Fact.
So I'm ready for predictions. I think.
All right. I mean, I think the thing about the Tuscan convent is I don't think New York is going to let Tuscan go through. Like they're 0-6 on the map. I've not really been able to figure it out from the beginning of the year, let alone when the spawn changes happen around P3. So if Paris allowed the Bakaj to come through, which it sounds like they're going to, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bakaj Berlin, maybe. Hard to say. There's really no other great maps for Paris outside of what they've been able to do on Tuscan lately. So, yeah, I think I know where I'm heading with this one too.
Take it away, Alan. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-1 New York in this one. I think just overall, the hard points. I think there's a natural advantage for New York. Actually, just the respawns kind of in general, especially if New York does not want to play on Gavudu, which I don't think they're going to want to. I think the biggest question will be what happens in the search and destroys. I think Paris has the ability to extend this series by possibly winning not just the first search, but also they could possibly win map 5. I think it has to be some combination of 2-5 and then either whatever control, if they get a Gavudu control maybe, or if they can win their hard point pick. I think that Paris could win this in 5, but I think New York take this in 4.
I'm gonna actually completely agree with you. I got 3-1 New York as well. I'm trusting that the coaching staff in New York, with them having 3 coaches, will do the right thing here in the vetoes. Get rid of Paris to some of their stronger maps and kind of make them play a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm gonna go 3-1 New York with you. I think I'll handle business. I'm riding the hype train for a little bit. Let the honeymoon continue for a little bit longer. But I could easily see a Paris win here. Like I would not be surprised if this goes 3-1 in the opposite side, or even like a 3-2 win to the Legion. So it's going to be a dicey one. Like I said, I don't think the bottom side of this bracket is very easy to predict, in my opinion.
Yeah, none of these matches are, honestly. Maybe only
one. I'm with you on one of them.
Yeah, I think we're looking at the same one.
Yep. Let's transition things on into the second match of the day. We got the Florida Mutineers going up against the Toronto Ultra. And these are two teams that have both improved. I think a lot of teams, or a lot of people, have been hard on them over the course of the year. A lot of people are curious about this Florida roster. What will they be able to do? They obviously don't have two submachine gun players on paper or what people thought. They go on to prove everyone wrong. Awakening, and I talked to Caesar and Awakening a good amount, and they basically said that they are both flexes. They switch on the map. So I guess they did this in MW where on one map Caesar's the flex, and then on another hardpoint Joe's the flex. And they kind of just switch back and forth and make it work. But these guys have looked a lot better, man, for ever since the Major 2 run that they had when they beat Optic, made it to top 4 and could potentially even made it further if they don't choke that, what was it, 5-3 or something like that versus LAG. Who knows where this team would have been if they were to win that series. They could potentially have been our Major 2 champions. So
I agree.
I don't know. Very impressive stuff out of them. They handle business. They go 3-0 in their pools. It's hard to kind of doubt them, but on the flip side, you got Toronto. They start winning some hard points. They come out of their pool. They did not have an easy pool by any means. And they're starting to look a lot better.
I will say, for Florida, after their Minnesota run, I was like, this is great. However, we've been very critical about this Florida team only playing like 2 maps per mode. And that was kind of the situation through Minnesota. It was the case during the qualifier in it where they were pretty much only playing Bacage. And then we got into the major, it was only Berlin and Gavudu. Seeing them adding Tuscan into their map pool now and finding success with it against some pretty good SMG squads is very encouraging, I think, to the depth of what this Florida team could do against anybody in the league. So that's exciting if you are a Florida fan. On the opposite front, Toronto, hey, look at this all of a sudden. You get yourself an opportunity to start getting better at the respawn. Obviously, you dropped 2 versus Atlanta, but I think that's fine, generally speaking. I think the wins versus Seattle, and well, we'll forget about Strike X, but the wins versus Seattle that they were able to find, I think were good. I think they played Berlin Control very well. I think that we're going to see an opportunity for Toronto to really put their best foot forward for the first time, maybe this entirety of the season. It'd be a hell of a time to do it while you're playing for money and not necessarily points. Then you kind of build confidence going into season 3. But I think overall, I'm still more impressed on the recovery and ability to prove themselves by Florida than I am Toronto at the moment.
Yeah, I will say too, I feel like every time Florida and Toronto, even when I was on Florida, they always said Toronto is one of their hardest matchups. Like they just feel like they match up super well versus them.
Stylistically.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see kind of, I don't know, I feel like this match is like a banger. I'm like at a 60-40 towards Florida, but like something in my gut is telling me like Toronto's going to make it very competitive or take it all the way to a map 5.
I'll take the first step here. I think the series versus Atlanta was probably more indicative of what we could probably expect for Toronto in their respawns, which has always been kind of the question mark stance that we had been building throughout the entirety of stage 2. And I think for that reason, coupled with the fact that Mutineers have really built up a good respawn map base, I think for me, I'm gonna go 3-1 Florida here. I'm really high in this Mutineers team going into the Minnesota Open. I was pretty high in them then. I thought that this team could make moves, and obviously they showcased that they could. And now that they've kind of built a little bit more variety into their map pool and still looked consistent on it, I've got good vibes for Florida in this matchup.
I like it. I don't want everything to be the same today, so I'm gonna go a 3-2 win Toronto. I think they have the capability to do so. It's gonna be a grueler series. I really am leaning towards Florida, but I think there is a chance that Toronto could take it home. And I just think off the sole fact that they match up very well versus Florida, these guys are gonna make a good run in this tournament and go on past round 1. So I'm gonna go Toronto again 3-2.
Yeah, and for you guys in the chat, I'm seeing polls come up. Make sure you guys are submitting your poll submissions and predictions and stuff like that. We'll see what chat has to say. But yeah, I think that if Toronto can win their hard point, I see it going 5. And kind of the same situation that we talked about with Paris. I think if you can win your hard point, if you're Toronto, you could win this series by winning whatever your hard point is, and then the 2 and the 5. I think that Florida, though, overall has, I think, a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to playing in respawn at the moment, including the depth that they have started to showcase in control as well. So pumped about that.
Yep, same. I'm excited. But that will transition things into our third match of the day, and I think this is the match that my power. Oh, okay, never mind. I was reading Ryan's message. Okay, but transition things into the third match. We got Atlanta FaZe going up against Optic, and I'll kind of let you take it away while I fix this graphic real quick and go from there.
Got you. Yeah. So I think this is the matchup that we were both looking at, so this is probably going to be the easier one to predict, largely due to the fact that if General's still playing, which we expect him that he is, there's going to be a natural advantage just there alone, due to chemistry, synergy, and just overall repetitions. And I think if you're an Optic fan, you just kind of have to come into this and be okay with the fact that you're giving Jordan a try. And hopefully he plays well. I really do. I hope he plays well. But if he's trying to find that niche between what his normal play style is, and he's still kind of even subconsciously trying to play more like Illy, he may struggle in this matchup, because that means he's going to be going toe to toe with players like Arcides and Cell all game long, and that's not really what you want. Especially if he's going to be rocking an AR every step of the way. So I think just based off of that, Atlanta holds a very steep advantage just off of the simple sheer fact alone that you're dealing with somebody who is not Illy trying to play an Illy role, which is difficult to do for anybody. So yeah, I think if you're Optic, the wider and more open the maps are, the better it's probably going to end up being for you. I think that watching them play Berlin has been pretty fun. Just generally compared to what we kind of had gotten from them at the beginning of the year, which was like, dude, are they ever going to play Berlin again? So hopefully they can find a way to square up on a Berlin, maybe a Gavudu, but I just don't love the idea of Gavudu against this Atlanta team either. So it's hard to pick your poison when you're trying to actually go for a win against this Atlanta team, not having Yuli in the mix. That's nothing against General. I want him to do very well today. This is just not the matchup that I think he does.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm sorry, all Optic fans, and this is nothing against General at all, but this is just a very hard match to come into and kind of perform on a top level with, I don't know, barely to like little to no practice at all. Like it's just gonna be very hard, and I just don't think that that they're gonna be able to do so. I mean, Optic they've looked great, don't get me wrong, and they look really good with their original roster, but FaZe has been so consistent. They've been in back-to-back grand finals, and they always handle the job when it needs to be done. I feel like this is a pretty, honestly, easy game. I don't think Optic looked too convincing versus Minnesota yesterday, and I think they're going to fall short, unfortunately, here, and I wish Ilya a speedy recovery. I hope he can get back to playing, and I know everyone wants to be able to watch Optic with their full roster, but regardless of what happens, tippable performance from them so far in this tournament to even be able to make it to the bracket with a fill-in literally day of the tournament. Like these guys, I was literally watching them play, and Illy plays first series, and I walk over there, and I'm told to go on camera, and Illy's no longer going to be able to play, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine what that would be like. I've never experienced something like that competing, so I don't know. Tippable from them, to say the least. I think their tournament ends here, though. I think FaZe will handle business, and I'm ready for the predictions. If you are, Alan,
I'm ready for predictions. I really want to give Optic a shot, especially in the search and destroy. But man, I just have a feeling that it's just not going to go well here. So I'm gonna take 3-0. Atlanta in this one. I hope the maps are competitive. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go 3-0 Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm literally right there with you. I think the maps will all be very competitive, but they're just gonna fall just short. And like I said, I think FaZe has just been too damn consistent this entire year so far. And I feel like this is a match where they just handle business and get the job done. Like I said, that Optic just doesn't have any practice with General, and they really haven't gotten to probably get too much under their belt through this week, and they've only played 2 matches together, and FaZe has a deep map pool. They're going to be able to put them on maps that probably they haven't played, and it'll be an interesting one to say the least, but I think it'll be very competitive. I will say that. I think all 3 maps will be close, but FaZe will just handle business.
You got this 3-0 as well then?
Yep, 3-0 FaZe. I think it'll be a competitive one, though. Then our last match of the day. This one
the fun one
is interesting. You got Boston Breach going up against the LA Thieves, and I don't know. This is what I wanted to talk about earlier. I was telling you throughout the bracket or throughout the pools, like I don't know. I guess I told you that initially when LA Thieves said that they were making this role swap, I thought it was a Band-Aid switch. I told Cap that in person. I said that I feel like these guys, don't get me wrong, they're all incredibly talented Call of Duty players. They're all fantastic. They all deserve to be in the league, whatever. But I just felt like for this team, like making a role swap, and I talked to you about this, it makes things like, yeah, maybe you find that honeymoon success for a second, but it's like it doesn't just completely
Those
fix your
first 2
issues. I
maps.
feel like I don't know. For me, it's like search and destroy changes a little bit. Like we see Kenny running a sub in some rounds, running an AR in some rounds, and I guess like they can swap around with that. But I don't know. They go on to play New York. They get Full Sail. We talked about that. They get 3-0'd.
Yeah.
Then I know yesterday they had a good day, but like I don't know what you think about this. I was not impressed at all. I saw the players obviously very confident and even their coach Cap saying some things, but like they beat Team War 3-0. No offense, you're a pro team. You should be able to handle business here. Like we're talking about one of the biggest organizations in Call of Duty, probably one of the best rosters on paper. I feel like they should be able to handle business versus Team War. And then they played London and like, I don't know. I know London's been good this year, but like it's so hard whenever, like to me, the London situation is like kind of like Optics. Like you bring in another like main AR or slower like player, and it's like hard to make that work. Like we saw what happens when like Paul X came in for Gizmo. It makes sense. It's a role that makes sense. We saw LAG, same thing. Gunless for Spart. Like the roles make sense. When you're putting in a main AR on a roster that already has a main AR, things start to get weird here. And so on the side of Thieves, I'm just not really impressed with either of those wins. Obviously, it's a confidence booster for the squad and whatnot, but like, I don't know. I'm not sold on it.
No, me neither. And that was kind of the reason considering the rule swap when I was initially making predictions for the group overall. It's why I thought Team War was going to get through this. I thought they were going to beat New York. I thought they were going to beat LAT. So with that all said, and kind of piggybacking off of your points, I just, man, as much as Boston maybe kind of dropped the ball a couple of different times, I do think play style wise, they are still the team that they were throughout season 2, including the play that they put together during Minnesota. So I naturally hold a little bit more higher regard towards it. I think the New York series was the most representative of what LAT actually is, like you had kind of mentioned. And I think you're right. After watching the scores come on, I was like, bro, like this roll swap's not going to work. And it's very clear when you've got Kenny who dropped like double negative on both the respawns, and then your whole team still found a way to drop another Tuscan Search and Destroy. Like, I don't know what it is about Tuscan Search and LAT, but it feels like there's just some bad voodoo in that map for them. And I think that bodes very poorly for them in this series versus Boston, who's looking like still a very complete team, because even their map losses that they've had were very, very close. And obviously the reverse sweep versus Toronto Ultra NA was more impressive from Toronto Ultra NA's point of view, more so than Boston necessarily having a breakdown or throwing anything away. So yeah, I wore the sweatshirt for a reason, Jerry.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I just think that the edge here in this series for me is going to be the search and destroys. I feel like Boston's look so like,
agreed,
no matter what, they've always looked good at search. And I feel like they just have a better search team on paper than the LA Thieves do. So I can see this one kind of going pretty far and being pretty competitive. But even though I've been hard on both these teams, I feel like Boston overall, well, they may drop a map or two, but I don't know. I'm a big fan of the search and destroys from them, and I'm sure they'll be able to get a respawn. But as far as the vetoes go, this is where it could get weird too. Because like if you're LA Thieves, I feel like you may get maps you really want. I think they'll probably get rid of Bocage versus this team. Then I think Boston turns around and gets rid of probably Tuscan. So they'll probably square up on a Gavutu Berlin. I want to say. Or if they don't,
I can vibe with that.
So if that's the case, like I don't know, I'm confident in Boston there. I mean, Boston loves Berlin, and then they're confident playing Gavutu, but they may go the opposite route. I don't know if they'll square up with these guys on Tuscan if they get rid of Gavutu, because Thieves have looked good on that map. And that's kind of always been their motto through Major 1 even to now. It's like, don't chalice on Gavutu. So I don't know. I don't know what route they'll go. I know Boston was playing it a lot in Major 2 qualifiers. They kept playing that map all the time because people were banning Bocage versus them. So I don't know. I feel like if you're LA Thieves, you're confident in the hard points just because you'll probably get, like I said, get rid of Bocage. You're comfortable playing any other maps. So then on the side of Boston, it kind of gets you in a spot where you can choose what map you want to play realistically, or what maps. But I'm curious for Control. I don't know who will play what. I know Thieves.
It's so early still with the Berlin in the mix.
I know. It's gonna get weird. I'm just so confident in this series with Boston and the searches. I don't care what map they play. I feel like they love all the searches. They're fine playing any of them. And as far as I know, they don't really have an auto veto on any of them. So I'm happy
Played
with
everything out
that.
evenly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking the same things that you are. So do you want to kick it off? What are you thinking?
I'm gonna go Boston here in 5. I got Boston winning 3-2. I think they're gonna take both search and destroys and they'll steal a respawn, but I think Thieves will make it
Okay.
competitive just because of the map choices that they're gonna get here. And I feel like, I don't know, if I know the guys on Thieves, they're definitely good for a respawn or two. I'm confident that they'll be able to get that done. But overall, I think from everything we've seen this weekend and whatnot, I'm just more comfortable in giving the Boston the edge here.
I'm gonna go a little feisty here because Boston's the higher seed, so they're gonna get to play their hard point first. And that I think means that I like Boston in the search, and I think Boston also wins the control. So I think it's gonna be super tight, but I'm gonna go. Oh, what the hell? I'm gonna go 3-0 Boston, not LAT. I was about to say LAT out loud, and I typed it instead. Just debated all of you guys in chat. I'm gonna go 3-0 Boston here because I think they get their first hard point, and I think they win the search and the control against LAT. So I don't even think we get a chance to see LAT play on their hard point selection. So I don't think it has a chance of getting to 5. So I'm gonna take a bold prediction here and say a tight 3-0 for Boston.
I like it. I'm a fan of it. We got what? Mostly the same predictions. We both have New York. I guess our Toronto, Florida is a little bit different, and then everything else is basically the same other than map counts.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting day. I'm curious to see what happens because I like we talked about earlier, the bracket's going to get dicey. I mean, if all of that happens the way we said it would, then I mean, you would have what, a Florida or wait, ours would be different for the bottom half, but we'd have New York being top 4, Florida or Ultra, and then we'd have a Breach and a FaZe. I'm confident FaZe can kind of make this another grand finals appearance. So I don't know. We can talk more about it tomorrow, obviously after everything unfolds. But it's gonna be an interesting bracket shakeup. I'm excited to see a new team in grand finals, though. No matter what, one of those bottom 4 teams in the bracket will make a grand final for the first time this year, baby.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because we have the potential for the first time in a long time to see 2 major Cinderella runs possibly lead to a championship because you're going to get, as you mentioned, Florida, Toronto, New York, Paris. All of those teams have been dealing with issues in some regard over the course of the last 2 months. And one of them will make it to the grand finals. And honestly speaking, with how all 4 of them are playing, there's an opportunity to potentially win the whole thing. And how cool would that be to see a Cinderella story from LAG in the last major and then a Cinderella story out of any of those 4 bottom of the bracket teams to possibly win the next tournament up in this program? It'd be sick.
It would be cool because I mean, all these teams have like basically struggled through the entirety of the year. So like, no one's like that confident in them. New York's had their woes. They made several roster changes. Paris has made several. The only team who hasn't made I guess no, neither team on the bottom has made a roster change, but still crazy to even think about. 2 of the 4 have kind of swapped around a lot of players this year. Then Florida's even had their woes, and same with Toronto. So hopefully they'll be able to make a nice run. But I'm down to answer some chat questions if you want for a little bit, and then we can kind of wrap things up. So chat, if you guys have any questions, if you guys are watching with us live on Twitch, go ahead and put any questions you guys have, whether it's about the matches, teams, rosters, whatever it may be. We'll try and answer them to the best of our ability while we're hanging out. And if you guys are watching over with us on YouTube, we stream this every day when one of us is, or when we're available to do a little CDL pre-show. So we're going to get back into the swing of things with the major 3 qualifiers, and then we'll be doing tomorrow's show live as well before the grand final. So we're getting back into everything, baby.
Pretty much every day that's not on a major weekend, we're going to be good for.
Yeah, definitely.
Because other casting things that I've got going on, and who knows? Jared's going to get picked up by the CDL, and everyone's going to be happy about it. So that's a thing.
We'll see about that one. I see a few. Go for it. Take one away.
Yeah, I mean, if you were okay, so I'm going to take the one that popped in my face first. The Waleed's question: do you think Pentagram makes his way to LAT, or do they go big in the market?
It's funny this was brought up. I was talking about this with I won't name names for the sake of things, but talking about this with some of the players and coaches there at the venue, and we were talking about Pentagram, and we were like saying, okay, I know this may sound horrible, but I'm just gonna say it. Did LA Thieves pick up him to like look good as an organization, or were they picking him up with the intent of putting him in? Because I feel like with the LA Thieves struggled, the fact that he hasn't been trialed is kind of like an eye opener to me, at least. And I don't think he'll ever go in from that reason alone. I feel like the fact that it's this late into the year and they haven't made a change, if they were to make a change, they'll go out to the market and do something, or like try and make something crazy happen because, like, let's just say, for instance, Toronto goes out and makes this run like we're talking about, okay? Then Thieves bomb out. You got Scrappy on the Toronto bench, and he's looked fantastic. And what did the LA Thieves need? A flex. So it's like I would almost guarantee you if Scrappy was not under Toronto, which great job to Toronto. They got him locked up. But if he was not locked up, I would almost guarantee you he would be on the Thieves after this weekend. If the Thieves were to bomb out, let's say to Boston, Toronto makes a run, it would not surprise me. So I don't know. I think that they would go to the market, in my opinion, and Pentagram would not be in. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. You know the amateur stuff more than I do.
The thing about it, the pickup of Pentagram to LAT at the beginning of the year was a brilliant move because I think the biggest weakness they probably were going to have was in the sub department, flat out. I mean, we've seen issues with it when it comes to both Draza and Kenny either not wanting to or not performing well on the sub. So you pick up a solid sub player, the best SMG player in North America last year in Cold War. It makes sense. Thing about it is the best team in Built by Gamers last year, all four of them have been struggling in challengers, except for real Kismet. So you've got a situation here where your best SMG player in North America last year hasn't even made many waves at all this year compared to players like, as you mentioned, just to use it as a reference, compared to players like Scrap. So I don't know. I don't think Pentagram is the correct answer just based on how he has played this game, as much as I think that he is a CDL caliber player. I just don't think the way he plays would help fix what LAT's problems currently are. So I think you do go to the market. I think you do shop around, maybe get a look at some of these players that were at the Pro-Am that were really good. Obviously, you kind of missed the ability to take what I think was the best overall options, either Havoc or Kismet, that were out there. Yeah, they're in a bit of a bad situation right now, I think, as far as what the availability is compared to the players that are locked up. Because the other player that I was going to say is Yeez, but he's on the bench at Florida. So it's just like, it's difficult straits right now, I think, to go pick up somebody that you're gonna have to, it's gonna be more risk than reward. I guess that's what I'm really kind of getting to, is that any move you make right now is gonna be more risk than reward. And I think it's largely because, as you mentioned, it's late in the season now, and a lot of the players that have shown high ceilings have been scooped up as either now starters or at least locked into a subcontract in some way.
Yep, I'm with you, and I've seen a few more questions about LA Thieves if they were to make a roster change. I'll be honest with you guys. I know this business side of things, or I've learned anything over 10, 12 years and know all these people. I don't think LA Thieves are making a change at all, no matter what happens. They've already made bracket. Even if they were to bomb out, like, they're probably using this event, as most teams are, as practice going in. So I think if you're an LA Thieves fan, you're locked in with this roster for at least the qualifiers. I think at least till maybe, I mean, if anything, you maybe see it later, but I just feel like it's so new, right? Like, okay, you've had probably 2-3 weeks of practice, maybe with the sub role. They go 2-1 in groups. They make the bracket. If they lose a one and done series and a single elimination qualifier, they're still going to play Major 3 quals together, unless if they go 0-5 again. Yeah, roster changes being made, but the likelihood of that is probably little to none. So I don't think that there will be a change for a while with this team.
And now that I'm looking at it, just had to double check to see what LAT's schedule is going to be for the qualifiers. They've got a schedule in front of them that should allow them a really good look, even with this roster, to still make it to the upper bracket. They've got London, Minnesota, Seattle, Boston, and then Optic at the end. So
that's a great 5.
It really is. I mean, there obviously is, you don't want to overlook London with more practice, or Seattle, who knows what they're going to do, and obviously Boston's good, but you got the ability to kind of look at them very very specifically tomorrow, or today rather. So
you're happy though, because you're playing
I think so.
You're playing like a newly formed, you can say, London, a brand new Minnesota who didn't look good. You're playing a struggling Seattle. Those are your first 3. At that point, you're 3-0. Then you play a Boston who's a very beatable top team. It's like, I don't know. I feel like you're feeling good if you're the Thieves, and hopefully they can make a run through this tournament. I saw someone ask in the chat too about something about what I think. I don't know. It was do you think this tournament holds any weight on Optic's rankings? I do not. I don't know. I don't think you think anything of that at all either. But
no, ranking wise, not really. This event, I got to be careful. This event, intention wise, was focused towards the teams at the bottom and the challengers teams that made it. That's where the focus largely, I think, should have lasted. The first 2 days,
Yeah.
I think, was where the majority of the primary focus of this event should have been handled. And I think that for the most part it was. So I don't hold too much regard to, your Atlantas, your Optics, even teams like your Boston Breaches and stuff like that. Or I don't even know what I would do for a power ranking right now, honestly. But I think generally for those two teams at the top, they still stay at the top too. There could be some malleability in the ability to look at the teams that were like kind of in the mix, like Florida. I think with their performance at stage 2 and now also doing well here in this stage, that will help their overall rankings. But for a team like Atlanta and Optic, this is the definition of just getting extra reps in.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Apparently, Pat said yesterday it's a practice land with a little money sprinkled on top, and straight up, I mean, that's pretty much the truth. It's really just
more than a little bit of money. There's a lot of money going
yeah,
on for this.
yeah. I don't know why I said yeah. It's definitely good money, but it's definitely practice at the end of the day. I mean, these guys get pool play to get multiple reps in and then get a single elimination bracket. I'm happy if I'm the pros. It's more COD you get to play, more reps you get with the squad, and kind of get those tournament reps. There's nothing like that compared to even practicing online. So I'm a fan of it. I see someone asking, I've seen a few people ask kind of about Minnesota. We briefly spoke about that, but they said, do you think Havoc was the right move based on their performance and group play? So there's nothing against Havoc at all. I think Havoc, like I said this earlier in the show, I think Havoc's a great player. I think he was doing his thing in Challengers, showing why he deserves to be in the league. One thing I want to say, and I talked about this with Alan before, is I thought Minnesota was at a point with their team that they needed to make a multiple person change. I didn't think swapping out Major for a submachine gun, we talked about this, was going to do the thing. I said the first thing they need to do, find their roles, figure out what gun everyone wants to use, and then kind of go from there. Clearly, Dylan wants to run an AR. Preston's comfortable running that flex. So they get rid of Major, and we've seen this move before. It worked out for them in the Cold War season, and it didn't work out here in the group stages. But I don't know. I don't think it's anything to do with it's not all on Havoc. I think that the like trio of this team, or even just the whole formula that they have going on, it just hasn't been working in this game so far. I feel like if things continue to struggle, they'll probably still play around with the roster, I would assume, just because they have the capability to do so, and Major's not going anywhere. So I don't know. I'll be honest. Like I said, nothing against the Havoc or anything. I'm just not a huge fan of kind of the one person swap. I don't think it's just gonna transform these guys to all of a sudden a top 4 team.
Talk about like hell or high water for Minnesota in the last month and a half. Your academy team doesn't do anywhere near what they were expected to do at their open. You knew that change was going to come in some regard, but all the players that you signed to your academy team don't even make it to the Pro-Am. So all of a sudden, all the favor we started to build off of new players from Spain potentially being an option have kind of just gone out the window. Havoc, I think, is a good addition to this team in theory, but this feels like one of those situations where it's like, well, it's Priesta and Attach. We can't drop them.
Yep.
Like, I feel like Minnesota's not going to have as much of the backbone that like New York did when it came to dropping either Clay or Krim. So I don't know, man. All of a sudden I start to consider like, why maybe Clay would be a good option for this Minnesota team all of a sudden for either Attach or Priesta. Depending on what they feel like, who's going to run that better flex role. I don't know. Maybe there is something there, because we already heard from Havoc that he really wanted to play with Clay, and I don't know.
Intel.
That would, I mean, obviously full of speculation, but I think that, you're looking for a main AR, and I think Clay's making the right choice for what it's worth to start giving back into challengers. Although, to be fair, like not qualifying for stage 3 is going to be really harmful to his ability to quickly get back in. But hey, man, we'll do our best to give cover to the cups, and if he's frying, we'll tell the story. So we'll see.
I like it. I want to ask you this. I've seen a few questions similar to it, but let's just say Toronto Ultra woes continue. Okay, let's say they lose to Florida today. Yeah. They go to the major qualifiers. They go 2-3. Let's just make it up. Do you, if you're GM, let's just make you play GM, do you put Scrappy in? If so, where do you put him in? Or Hixie? Or do you entertain the fact that you have very good players on your academy roster and on your substitute line for CDO?
Here's the bonus for Toronto. This is going to feel just like Modern Warfare, honestly. You've got Hixie, Scrappy, Mohawk, The first two had proven themselves. Hicksy subbing in, I thought did well.
Yep.
Scrappy, obviously we know what Scrappy could do, and then Mohawk just had an unreal performance throughout LAN. I think if you're Toronto, you're in the best possible position to consider moves simply due to the fact that you've got a player that could fulfill any of your problems. You want a main AR? Got Mohawk. You want a flex? You got Hicks. You want an SMG? You got Scrappy. So you've got the best potential look to make substitutions. So for Toronto, I think you have the ability here now, if there are problems that you still think are existing, you can identify who and where, and then you have the instant 1-for-1 swap in. It's just, I think the biggest question mark here would be if things still go sour for them, is it a one-person change or is it a two-person change? And how easily recognizable would it be to sub out whoever it happens to be and who then to sub in?
I think he messed that one up. He knows Scrappy's a flex. He said it backwards.
What did I say?
You said Scrappy's sub.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was gonna. They were like, the chat's like, what? Everyone knows Scrappy's flex.
Around.
I will say, like, I'll go out and just say it. Like, I know this may sound crazy, and I don't think any like player has been severely. That's the weird thing. Like, even Seattle, I guess you could like count out Lamar, but like on Toronto, I don't think anyone's been playing like so individually bad, in my opinion, where they're like clear cut, have to get rid of this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not joking. If I'm Toronto GM, I'm literally trying. This sucks to do it and even say it out loud, but I'm trying a really fast lineup and leaving inside his main, letting him be he's a good search and destroy player. I'm keeping Cammy at flex. I don't care if he's been playing bad or whatever, or maybe moving him to sub here. But then I'm putting in Scrappy with Cammy because I think Cammy has that ability to take over the game if he gets in a good role. Then I'm leaving Kleenex. I'm letting my 3 sub flex player, whatever, they can do anything. Kleenex, Scrap, and Cammy. That is a dirty trio. I love Benjamin Bance. I love him. He's a great Call of Duty player, fantastic guy. But I'm at least trying it if I'm the Ultra. I think Scrap brings a lot to the table in the flex role. He still can run a sub. We've seen him do it in challengers. I've seen him do it versus the pro teams this past weekend. I think he brings a lot to the table in search and destroy as well. I don't know. If I'm Toronto, I'm for sure entertaining that without a doubt because I think that could be a very, very, very scary addition to the squad. And just it's shown Scrap can get kills versus the best teams. Like he literally, I remember, I knew the kid was the truth once I watched the Minnesota event, but when I watched them play LAG first and they went down 0-2 in the series and he went 41-20 on map 3 Berlin control, then Berlin hardpoint, he goes 31-20 as well. He was plus like 30 something to take the map 5. Then I watch him 5-5 get a 2-piece round 11. I'm like, all right, this kid's good. Like he's got some ice. Like he's doing it versus the team who just won the event. So I don't know. I know I keep talking about it and I'm gassing him up, but I would be a huge fan to see him in the lineup just so that way too you don't ruin the core that you have there. It's not like Toronto's just bombing out bottom 12 guaranteed. Like they're in the conversation. This is like similar to kind of where they were with their Cold War season where like you move Zenny out, you put inside in, and now they became a championship contending team. I think they're in this very similar spot. It's like you're not a horrible roster. You put in someone else and potentially you could see this team turn everything around and their season's right there in their hands.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. And just to kind of throw the little bow on top of all of that, think about where the best teams in the game are right now and what their makeup looks like. Like either you have 2 ARs that are mostly identified for their history as being flexes, or you have the ability to get a fast-paced core put together. You look at your Atlantas, your Optics, and things like that, and why New York is all of a sudden starting to play a little better. And even when London was doing well, it was because of that versatility. So yeah, I like that call. I think it's at least on paper and in theory the right idea to kind of remedy some of the problems that Toronto have had and what they have the ability of inserting to kind of be more of the kind of 1-for-1 comparative makeup to like an Atlanta or an Optic. So I like it.
I just want to say too, I feel like it's rare nowadays to find like a true flex who can go toe to toe with some of these big dogs like Cell and Ellie and all these really good flexes. So it's like super rare. And I feel like a plus too, like you've seen Scrappy talk a lot of trash and whatnot. He's very confident in his individual play. And the fact that his first LAN event was Minnesota, the second one he goes up playing against the pros and there wasn't a drop off in gameplay, that to me right away is like, okay, this kid can compete. Like he can actually play. He's a very confident person out of the game, and that obviously translates to end the game. So I don't know. I think that's something you got to consider too. Like whenever you it's not really like a risk. Like you know he can play on land. So I feel like that's a big plus. Like I told you earlier, I think Toronto did a great job. Like the fact that they have all these options and they're like contracted already to Toronto. It's like, okay, cool. You want to put in Hicksy was doing his thing too. Like don't let me not give him credit. He was frying the entirety of the weekend as well. So I don't know. Like you said, you have plenty of options. If you wanted to do a trial run like MW, you have the capability to do so. So I think if I know Toronto management, they're probably all sitting back there with smiles on their face because no matter what happens, they have options. They're already on the league roster. So if they start to struggle early in the qualifiers, just flip-flop someone in, get them into scrims, and get things rolling.
Yeah, I like that. Do you see any other questions that were in chat that you wanted to hit?
Nothing crazy. I mean, we kind of talked about. I saw some Seattle stuff. People want to talk about Seattle, and then like, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of it's like we're chasing our tail at this point with it. It's like we've talked about them a lot. Why am I not at the venue right now? Listen, guys, my deal with CDL was 2 days long, so I'm back at home, and it was just a 2-day thing. So I don't know if they have anyone else there. If there's no person for interviews, I'm not really sure. But talk about Seattle real quick. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but they're in a really, really, really weird spot. They played FaZe very tight their first game. Very bad individual performance from Lamar first few maps. But again, I feel like it's similar to like what I said about Toronto earlier. Like it's hard to pinpoint exactly where the problem is. Okay, cool. You do your easy cop out, like you said, drop Lamar. I'm sure that's what majority of the fans think. But okay, who do you go get now? I don't know a single person in challengers. Okay, you put in Mohawk. Do you think that transforms this team to being one of the best? I don't know. I really have no idea. I mean, so I'm so curious to see if I don't think they do anything. And I see someone in chat saying Gunless or Clay. I know there's options, but like it gets to the point in the year, and you and I have talked about this. It's like, is that actually an option? Like, is that really something that like these teams or organizations entertain? Like, if you're LAG and you just went 0-3, why do you get rid of Gunless? Because you just like won the event, but yeah, you just had a really bad performance to the Pro-Am. If the qualifiers continue to struggle, like Gunless could potentially be back in. So why get rid of him? I don't know. It's gonna be weird. You can't drop Mac. Mac's looked great. You can't drop Sid.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, talking about like that competitive and maybe championship caliber makeup, like Seattle, technically speaking, by roles also has that, which is why we saw them do so well. I mean, in the kickoff, that was so long ago. Holy smokes. It's like that's not even part of the relevance anymore. But when you see Seattle do well and they're beating teams like Optic, they're beating teams like Atlanta, those reasons are the reasons that they're able to do it, is that they've got that same competitive makeup. And when they're playing at that level, you feel really good about it. But then you see them struggle and not want to respawn at all throughout the entirety of this event, and you go, well, where is it? How can you not get past Strike X? Like, that's troublesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I was watching the match. I'm like, all right, what in the world is happening? I don't.
It just can't happen.
Yeah, no, it really is unacceptable.
That is a top 16 challengers team globally, maybe top 24. Like, you can't lose to Strike X. Can't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I feel like they're just like the Thieves, like I said earlier, though. I just feel like they're not going to make a change. Like, they're going to go home, start their qualifiers. I'm not sure if you can pull up who they play first 5, but like it's literally, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I don't know if it's even worth. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, really. Like, you maybe try and entertain a change. Like, yeah, maybe Clay goes on and fries, but the actual logistic value of it happening is little to none, I feel like.
Okay, so wow, talk about your good old-fashioned softball schedule. Seattle plays Toronto, Paris, LAT, Florida, London.
Huh. You have
to make upper bracket. If you do not do well in this season 3 qualifier, I
forgot, because they played Optic and FaZe last one. They had a hard schedule. I remember you and I were talking about it.
In stage 2,
yeah. So I mean, they should definitely come out in the upper bracket. If they don't, that's definitely an eye opener again for this team. But I just don't know how many they're gonna get. I know always Pat jokes about blow it up. This team's like not who they think they are, whatever. But I'm so curious to see what he would do if he were to kind of make a change for this roster, or even like entertain making a swap. I think the only thing that people will say is a thing for Lamar, but it's like you lose full leadership depending on who you put in. And getting a actual top AR to replace that would be super hard. I mean, if you could,
Yeah.
I would say if you could get Gunless on the team, that'd be pretty scary team, or even Clayster. But I just don't know if it would fully fix all of their
everything.
inconsistency issues, because it's not just Lamar only playing bad in some maps. It's all of them having rough maps here and there. So
Yeah.
who knows? Who
Man.
knows? Only time will tell, I guess.
Identity crisis with all these middle of the pack teams, bro.
I don't know if you got anything else, but we've hit Minnesota, we hit Seattle, talked about Toronto, LA Thieves, talked about all the matches today. You got anything else you want to hit before we kind of wrap her up?
I saw a couple of people asking like who are your top 5 challengers players from the event, or like like your top 3 challengers players from the event. Is there anyone in particular that was like, if you were to pick like a challengers quote unquote like MVP player
From the event? From the prom?
Yeah, from the event, yeah.
I'm tired of saying his name, but probably Scrappy. I mean,
Scrappy.
realistically, I mean, he had a 1.4 versus LAG with 75% non-traded kills. He had 33% of his team's kills in that series versus the reigning champ. So that to me was one of the series. Then when he played Boston, he still did his thing. I mean, he played great versus all the pro teams. But he's probably my MVP from the whole weekend, like biggest standout. I think there's a lot of arguable other players you could put in there, but I mean, I think by far, without a doubt, Toronto Ultra Academy NA was like the most standout, all 4 players in each role respectively. And I think it's fair to say they're the only teams to beat pro teams other than Strike X, right? Because Toronto EU didn't win a series. They went 0-3 and Team War went 0-3.
How did that happen, dude? Strike X is the only. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I will say the turnaround for this group from Ultra NA is unbelievable. Season 2 Challenge Elite, they won 2 matches.
Yep.
They finished 7th, I think. Like, that's what a crazy turnaround.
Or Lanimals, apparently, because they go to Minnesota and they drop down to losers. They don't lose, and then they go on to beat LAG, beat Boston, and then bomb out to Paris and don't qualify. So I mean,
they fixed a lot of their problems from Season 2, though, I will say. Like, even in that run for Minnesota, like, we watched them get so much better just essentially overnight, just stylistically how they're playing the maps. That's always great news. Shout out Coach Mystic.
Yeah, no, definitely. They definitely flipped some, because it started to look like a fluent sound team all of a sudden randomly. So I don't know. It'll be fun to kind of watch them. It sucks that they all have to like go back into the challengers pit after they show what they can do, but it'll still be fun to watch them. I'm sure they'll be missing LAN. I was talking to Scrappy and it's like that was his second ever LAN event. He's like, dude, online sucks. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my life. I played LAN events for 10 years, and then the COVID league hit, and I started playing online matches for millions of dollars in my bedroom. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my life, buddy.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I would say for me, I think just again, I didn't get a chance to watch everything with Valorant stuff going on, but from what I was able to gather, Scrappy, Mohawk were my 2 most impressive. Wardy and Denza I thought played well the couple of maps that I had a chance to watch them play. And then I would say probably Beans and Furious or Vortex, one of the 2.
Yeah, Vortex is a good shout. I like that one.
Yeah, he's always been good, man. It's tough being in Europe right now for those guys, honestly. You just have to hope that there's expansion next year and you get some sort of a kind of like a Dens and Zed situation where some like maybe Shane gets back into coaching again for some expansion team, and then you start to get the opportunity to get those players picked up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for sure. I think they I was happy to see him kind of do his thing though, because I know he's been winning in challenges on the EU side of things for a long time, and then finally gets a shot to come back over to North America and play and like do his thing. So that was cool to see.
How did Gunsy and Ramby play? Did you get a chance to watch them play at all?
I watched them play a little bit. Gunsy was doing his thing. I mean, Fire was not playing well. Silly wasn't playing well in some of their matchups versus like FaZe and Toronto, but then they showed out versus Seattle when they won.
Gunsy played well.
Yeah, no, Gunsy was doing it.
Overall -1.
He was the only one doing. He was the only one doing like anything versus those 2 teams. Other than I think Silly and Fire actually stepped up versus Seattle. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right. I saw the stats.
Fire had a 0.6 against Toronto.
Yeah, no, he was getting slammed, but no, then versus Seattle though, their only win, I think he had a 1.10 or 1.11 or something like that.
1.13, yeah.
Yeah, so he was doing his thing towards the end, I guess, during their win.
Good Good for Gunzy, man. I will say, like, Gunzy's, I'm not going to say the only reason that StrikeX even made it here, but he's the majority of the reason that they even made it here. Like, I think the original Team War would have done better than StrikeX. I think that Texas Nation would have done much better than StrikeX, but good for Gunzy.
Yep.
That kid's been a grinder the last 3 years and deserved a chance to show up. Hopefully people recognize that's good for him.
Yeah, that's what I was glad to see. It just sucked on the flip side of things too, though. I hate how, like, I don't know, we talk about it all the time. We talk to Havoc about it. It's like, if you were to go here to the Pro Am, like, do not the best. Like, let's just say Fire didn't win that series versus Seattle. It's like he gets dropped in Cold War, didn't look good, comes back to, gets to the Pro Am, and then doesn't do well. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's just such a bad look, and people take stuff so, like, I don't know, serious from these events, and I don't know, it can be a good thing or a bad thing, unfortunately. Oh
yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I saw someone ask in chat real quick, Slacked, if the team that wins, does it count as a major win? I mean, technically yes, but it is as the pro players would say, it's an asterisk event. Like, it's like winning the kickoff. Like, they still won the event. It's considered what was your thoughts?
This is a $250,000 prize pool. It's half as much of a major, but it's 4 days worth of action. I don't know if I'd call it a major, but
it's still technically a win. Like, I
would.
No, you count it as a chip. Like, it's not a doubt. Like, you add it to your bio of however many chips you have. But I'm saying it's an asterisk event, as in people aren't gonna fully count it because of the single limb, like single limb best of 5. People, people aren't gonna count it. They're that's just how pro players are. But if I won that event, I'm like, yeah, that's a chip. Like, that's a chip for sure. And if whoever wins, they'll say.
That was really, I remember it being very aggressively talked about during the Modern Warfare year, like when the CDL became the CDLs. Like, what do we call majors? What do we call championships? We really needed to have somebody, maybe a collection of people, go back through all of the competitive events ever and start listing them as like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier events, like every other esport does. So then we could kind of clear up the vernacular around it. Because I would say that if the qualified regular CDL majors are an S tier event, this is absolutely an A tier event. Like, it's still it's still a big win, but I think it's just the vernacular of championship versus major. Like, we just need to clean all that up over the history.
The problem is in MW though, only like 8 of the 12 teams were playing, so that was like super fugazi, because it was like, okay, let's just say I went to an event without Optic and FaZe there, but they were the number 1, number 2 teams, and I beat a Toronto to win the event. It's like, okay, no one counts that, so that's like. That's why in MW, I thought those were like fake. I swear those are fake chips. Like, you literally would win 3 series and you won the whole event, not playing 4 of the teams. This one's more legit than anything. You have 16 teams at the tournament. You start in pools. The best teams come out of pool. And if you were to win 3 series, yeah, you win less than normal, but it's still, I mean, it's still a chip at the end of the day. It's not a major, but you win $25,000 each. And I'll take that any day of the week if I'm a pro team.
Absolutely. So. Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
I remember like having the conversation with Visions back when we ran our little show. It was just like, we need to start establishing a major versus a minor.
Yep.
Like, flat out.
I like it because, I mean, that's been a conversation forever. Like, I have a Totino's chip from Black Ops 3, and people say it's like a fugazi thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, listen, you can call it fugazi chip, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, I still got paid, so I don't care at all. Like, I'll let it be. I don't care. Like, it is what it is. But I don't know. They're like you said, it needs to be a tier list of like actual events and the meaning behind it. But at the end of the day, it's bragging rights for whoever wins, and they can talk all the trash they want until the time being, till the next major. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to hit. I think we've kind of hit a good amount of stuff.
One
You got one more?
Yep. Daniel asks, is Sentinels qualifying for VCT? The answer is no, they're not. That's all I have to say.
That's it, huh? All righty. Well, I'm down to kind of wrap things up then. We got a good almost basically hour and a half show in. Talked everything Call of Duty. It was a good little catch up with you. I hadn't talked to you in a few days, so good to catch up about some Call of Duty. But kind of end things here. If you guys are watching with us live on Twitch, man, make sure to please follow the stream. It means a lot, and we're going to do this again tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time before Championship Sunday. We should have 4 teams after today. The CDL starts at 3 o'clock Eastern, so if you guys want to tune into that, I'll be doing a watch party here, or you guys can go watch over on YouTube. It's youtube.com/COD League. Then if you guys are watching with us live on YouTube, make sure to drop a comment down below what other types of videos you guys like to see or podcasts. We're going to get back into the rhythm of things. We had that whole awkward like month break off, so it was hard to kind of coordinate with Alan, and I did a terrible job of trying to get pros on and stuff like that. So definitely followed over on YouTube.
We should bring somebody on next week.
Yeah,
we should start thinking about that.
Definitely, because then we got more Call of Duty after this. 100%. He'll come on for sure. So we'll get a bunch more action. Yep, I see mods. Thank you guys for putting Alan's stuff. Go follow him. His Twitter is either in the chat if you guys are live with us, or if you're on mobile, you can see his name under his webcam. So go show him some love on Twitter. He's always doing all types of things, Call of Duty, whether it's challengers, CDL stuff, whatever you name it, he knows about it, or even Valorant or whatever. He's a jack of all trades, or you can go watch his golfing streams too. So do a little bit of everything. But we appreciate you guys, and if you guys have any questions for us, like I said, leave them in the comments below on YouTube, and we will catch you guys tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central. Alan, you got anything else? I think that's it for me.
That's all I got, man. I'm ready for a full day of COD. I'm pumped.
Yep. Let's get right into it. So take care, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and stick around. We'll still be streaming. So catch you guys in tomorrow's stream. Peace.